Welcome to a sponsored 6-part video series of Trump teachings, Gwent. Welcome to the 4th video of the Gwent teaching series. This video focuses on passing. Passing is one of the most unique mechanics in Gwent compared to other card games, because once you pass, you're basically giving up for that round, and you let your opponents play as many cards as they want. But did you know that it's actually really good for your opponents to play a lot of cards after you pass? It's great to lose a round when the opponent is down a lot of card advantage. So in this video, we'll explore when the right time to pass is. Of course, it's something that constantly changes based on your deck, based on your opponent, but we'll lay down the basics of it. And to illustrate the concept of passing, we feature the monster decks this time around. I've got a budget weather deck and a consume deck. In general, the monsters faction wants to play really long rounds, so that means they want to play an extended round 1 and then pass quickly in round 2 and then play an extended round 3. While other consume decks will also follow the general pattern of wanting to have 2 long rounds and then 1 short round somewhere. This particular consume deck wants 1 medium long round followed by a short round, since it's at its most powerful when the opponent can't catch up due to the carryover that it's going to have in the deck. It plays pretty uniquely, so watch and see. The budget weather deck actually features a lot of the bronze cards that are already there, so this is one of the lower cost budget decks. The deck has 3 of the original silvers in the deck, Cleaver, Nithril, and Scorch, and adds in trusty Mirktabrak, which I seem to be putting into every one of our budget decks, as well as the faction-specific and pretty flexible Water Hag. It keeps all 4 of the starting golds as well. This deck thrives when the rounds are long, because it focuses on weather. And weather is an effect that you kind of put on the board, and the longer it stays on the board and is harming your opponent's units, the better it is for you, since it's soaring their strength over time. So the longer the round is, the more turns the weather has to take into effect. Now, let's go rain on someone's parade.
Onward! Attack!
Alright, full test might be a great matchup for me. Reason being, full test usually leads an army, and I have weather which affects armies. So first up, with this deck, pretty much the first card to mulligan is Foglet. You don't want any in your hand, so correct to blacklist them immediately. Before I mulligan that Foglet though, and here's where order matters, I'm going to mulligan the Biting Frost so I don't draw the second copy of Biting Frost in my deck. Biting Frost wants to be drawn using the Wild Hounds in the deck. And finally, I'll get rid of the Foglet. So the order mattered there of mulliganing Fogling and then Frost and then Fogling, because then I have no chance of drawing the second
Onward!
Frost.
Attack!
Those edges. This deck's proactive play is the Seleno Harpy.
With pleasure.
I'll go ahead and Thunderbolt Potion these 3. Usually the Harpy and Thunderbolt Potion go really well together. That's the main point. Makes Potion a 12-point card for bronze. Pretty good.
As you wish, milady.
I'm waiting for him to commit some amount of card so that I can finally play one of my weather effects. Northern Realms. Alright, Northern Realms likes their siege. Getting the Foglets out is important in this deck as well.
Bloody non-humans.
Oh, anti-weather effects. When the fog is cleared, all the foglings go away, but go ahead and fog him again. Foglings, I mean foglets. Excuse my lore.
I'm too old for this shit.
This is a pretty good segue into the concept of passing. So the opponent is currently up by 32 points. In order to catch up with that, I would have to play quite a few cards, maybe 3 of them. I would be able to win, but that would be a bit too weak. The opponent's played a very high tempo play, getting 26 points out on the board with that move. Over time, my fog's gonna wear away at him, but so is his rain on me. Usually in this game, it's fine to lose by 1 card. Opponent has 6 cards, I have 7. It's also fine to win when you're up by 1 card. But what's not okay to do is to win but be down 2 cards, or to lose and be even on cards. So, generally, a fair trade is turn 1, well, in round 1, you want whoever wins to be down 1 card. That's the rough rule. So when you're down by that many points, it's simply not worth it. Trying to win that round would cause me to lose the game. Hand looks good. Got the Frost Enabler, got the 3 gold cards. This card gets another gold card, so I've got 4 gold cards and a Frost. We'll see whether the opponent wants to try to drag out this round, and that would actually be a good play for him. Monsters tend to want to play one really long round. So what he's doing now could be something called bleeding, where he's going to try to play a card each round, because by playing a card, I can't pass. Even if I'm up a lot of points, I'm going to have to still play cards. This card, if he wants to fight, that card's a little bit dangerous. I'll go ahead and Triss it down right now. Cleaver also would have worked.
What do you want?
But in this case, Cleaver is a bit more useful on that card, since I can't Triss it.
Snitches get stitches.
The opponent's got some kind of machine base, which means that he might actually be trying to win this round right now. Or maybe he's trying to split up the rounds, or he can switch plans somewhere in the middle. They're all good. At some point, and at first the plan was to save the Frost effects for the last round, because that would have enough rounds. But now that I see he's committing a little bit, and I see where his cards are going, let's go ahead and play... because Northern Realms has the card that bounces the machine, as you might have seen in my Trump Teachings number 2. I'm going to Frost this row, even though that card's the more important card. It could get moved. And this is where Scorch would be really good for me. Develop Nithril.
I wonder how long you last.
Unfortunately, I don't have Scorch right now. So the Water Hag can deal 3 to all 3 of those. Or I can put the Rain, but given that he's only got 3 cards left, looks like going for the strong play right now is good. Also, the Hag gets a lot worse when there are less cards in play, since all of the Hag's abilities are basically AoE.
Thank not me, thank Melitele.
The opponent shuffled the entire Witcher crew back in. I have to play here, because if I pass, the opponent can catch up with those 2 cards. I'll play the Ice Giant, so that the last round I can use Fog to bring out the Foglets. So the opponent did a fine job in dragging that round a bit and making sure he had the chance to obtain the Witchers on the final round. I'm going to get rid of Ice Giant since I will unlikely have the Frost effect. And that's only 5. Oh, that's terrible. I drew into the gold card that Royal Decree would summon. So now one of the cards in my hand is dead. We'll see if I can still pull it off, I suppose. So here, order matters a bit. I'm benefited right now by not playing anything because Geralt can only get better. So I'll play Royal Decree, getting nothing. This puts us at an even amount of cards, 3 and 3. So it depends on whether or not the opponent managed to draw into a Witcher. If they did, then they'll have a really strong final turn. Let's spawn the fog. With reinforcements, they'll get the Witchers.
Now that's the kind of negotiating I understand.
Now the good news is, by sandbagging basically that first round, Geralt here actually gets his deploy bonus. And he's worth 13.
And now something special.
This is gonna be close. It's gonna be a draw! Unfortunate that I ended up getting the deadest card in the deck. But we still pulled together a draw. Next up, this consume-based deck features the power of the monster's ability to carry over power after they've passed. So we have the Necker, which after the round ends, plays additional Neckers, and that is combined with the Necker Warrior, which spawns more Neckers in your deck. So if you get a huge chain going, you're going to have so much carryover power between rounds. Also, to enable these carryovers, Ran Warrior can kill something very big and then get eaten by Ekamara, which will carry over power due to its natural resilience ability. Similar to that Northern Realms deck, we've got the monsters versions of the Witchers. Crones being slightly more powerful than the Witchers, but being monsters only. A really strong 20-point play if you want to swing the game in your favor really quickly. It's worth noting that there are two main variants of the Consume engine from Monsters. The more popular versions currently runs Arrakis Behemoth, but spawning a bunch of Neckers, that's pretty cool too.
Close ranks!
Why should I help you?
Alright, looks like it's time to eat full test. This deck is looking for quite a lot of things in the mulligan. It's looking for a Necker, it's looking for Necker Warrior. Ekamara and Ran Warrior are kind of optional, but missing some of those pieces is annoying. And we're looking for a Crone, so right now that's what I'm going to be looking for. 2 Ran Warriors is a bit much, so I'll mulligan 1, given the context of this hand. I got another Necker. I'm not going to toss that because having 2 Neckers is completely reasonable, especially with 2 Necker Warriors. So let's roll with this. There's a few different ways to do this. There's the variety hand, and then there's the Necker focused hand. And usually the variety hand still focuses on Neckers, but this is especially Necker focused this time around. So game plan of this deck. Create more copies of Necker, usually with Operative. 2 Neckers is definitely worse than a Necker and an Operative, but didn't have the Operative, decided to just go with 2 Neckers instead. Develop the Necker, and then copy a bunch of Necker Warrior. Your goal with this deck is to win either round 1 and 2 or round 2 and 3. And that's because the Neckers carry over quite a lot of strength. That's fine. So a lot of this comes down to really thinking about when to pass with this specific deck to decide, are you going to win round 1 plus 2, or is it round 2 plus 3 that you intend on winning? With a hand like this, I'm thinking that it might be round 2 and 3 that we seek to win. That should be pretty annoying to get rid of one of the Blue Stripes commandos. Those get pulled for free from his deck. So far, 1, 2, 4 of my 7 Neckers have been accounted for. Given that he's actually taken out so many of the Neckers, I might be going for a round 1-2 win instead, since in round 3 I won't have enough. Yeah, in fact,
What do you want?
it is going to be attempting to win exactly these 2 rounds. As such, it's time to make sure to get the Frost going. In fact, I might be 1 turn late on this Frost. Perhaps I should have played this last round. If I had been able to foresee the general game plan more.
What do you want of me?
For Samaria!
Huh. But now, we're going to pivot again. That is a lot of strength to overcome. But I do have a great card for it, the Manticore, giving me 13. Put me at 35 and right back in it.
Step away while you can. Damn it. Don't like the look of this.
But I'm set up well in order to 1-2 punch him. Due to having 7 Neckers in the deck. Right now I have 2, 3, 4 out. I'm going to get the 5th one, and then with 2 in, with 6 and 7, I should be able to do really well to win round 2 and 3. So therefore, that's the plan. And that's why I'll pass instead of fighting more. Besides that, general good rule of thumb is to pass if it would require playing 2 cards to beat the opponent. Because you could just play a card, then your opponent will pass, then you'll play another card. That's that of course is very subject to change, and especially with this deck, due to the sheer amount of power you can get through power of carrying over, with resilience, with Neckers, even with the Harpy spawn of the eggs. That rule doesn't hold nearly as much.
Aye, aye, sir.
As a note, I should have mulliganed Necker Warrior to try to fetch one of the Crones. That's the other missing piece of this deck. So I'll get 2 final draws at it in the final round, but I should have gotten another draw at it. General note with this deck, place the Neckers on the right so that the Harpy can spawn the eggs on the left, so that the Vran Warrior can eat the eggs, and not necessarily the Neckers, if that's to your liking. In this case, I do want to eat the eggs as a priority because I want to eat the Vran Warrior with Ekamara. Okay, in this case, keeping the Necker Warrior is useful because now we have 4 dead, so only 1 left in the deck. So therefore I'll have 3 in the deck if I copy 1. So I'm going to place the Necker Warrior in the middle because I want to eat the left one so I can spawn the so I can spawn the 7th one, so there's an 8th and 9th one. This is quite the chess thinking. Kind of graduating from passing and then taking a sneak peek to the final video, which is going to be game plan. But this deck is it's got a lot of subtleties to it. Okay, perfect. The opponent passing is my cue to play the Ekamara. and I'll play it on this row to spread out the power over multiple rows. So with this, you can kind of see why the game plan of this is to win 2 straight games, because generally the round in which you dedicate a lot to eating with an Ekamara, you'll also have a bunch of neckers out, and those neckers will be even more powerful the next round. And I have the exact right amount of neckers in the deck to get exactly 2, and I have none left in the deck. I got GLs, which is good, because that'll be able to fetch one of the crones. And the rest of the hand looks good. This is probably the weakest card, but I'll toss it. See if we can fetch something better. Vran Warrior. Vran Warrior is not better. And just to double check, we did copy Necker. 4 copies were put in the deck. No, 6 copies were put in. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So no more will spawn. So this is basically a 5, pretty much. Let's lead off with Catachan. Look for pretty much the highest power or something that might negate some sort of combo. And I'll take the Trebuchet. Highest power.
Finally.
Oh, yes. There's the Cavalry. The Vran Warrior will at least add 2 after he eats something. I think the play is to pull out the crones and start eating the crones in this case.
If I must.
Good old doo-doo-doo. It's the common silver, which I've removed from pretty much all the decks that I'll showcase. You're so useless, doo-doo. Is Kayran better? Hadn't done the calculation for that. Crone is a total of 20. But Kayran, given that this card is not very good right now, is worth 21. Not quite. This is still better. Very hard to find a better play than Crone. Such a powerful card, getting out 20 power with 1 move. And now instead of eating the 8 and making myself too vulnerable, I'll go ahead and eat the 6. I actually set 2 things to 11 for Scorch, but fortunately Doo-Doo is there, so I'll Scorch himself in that case. Alright. I'll just go ahead and say planned for that. And then we have Unseen Elder eating everything except the Neckers, so that the Eckers can be, can grow and be happy.
Best give up now!
And that's that deck. I actually had to practice this deck for a bit, and then find a good game in which I didn't stop my opponent once I had stopped stumbling out of the gates. But this is a deck that really requires good knowledge of passing, because you need to know, am I going for round 1 and 2 victory, or am I going for round 2 and 3? And every so often, because Gwent throws a curveball all the time, you might go for a round 1 and 3 victory. So to recap on passing, you generally want to pass. This is a rule of thumb and doesn't fit for all decks, but you generally want to pass if you would win the round and you would be even on cards, or if you would lose the round but you would go up 2 cards if the opponent tried to catch up. Typically common situations where it's about even of a game is your opponent wins but you're up a card, or you win but the opponent is up a card. Situations in which you'll have a very good advantage in the rest of the game is if you win but are even on cards, or if your opponent wins but he's down by 2 cards. So always have that in mind in deciding, oh, should I pass? Is it time?